farmers. Mountain back to Atlantic Ocean. Upon me hills to country. To educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Talking about culture. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I see someone sitting on the beach in Lower Buchanan, Sunset Beach, looking beautiful. Let me welcome all of our folks from around the world, around the country. We are in for a treat. It's going to be a dandy. We are talking about world affairs. We're talking about local government. We're talking about issues. We are going to be no G's, though, no G's, no G's. Everything has to be substantive, and it has to be, if you're going to talk to us, you got to have substance. No emotion, no G's, straight substance. Today, I have with me all of our men, and we got to try to get some kind of woman over here. We are trying to draft women. We are talking to the women. Please come on, help us out. We need some women on this show. I don't want you to say this is an all boys show. And it's not for the lack of trying. We've been trying. One of the ladies told us that we are not as passionate and immersed in nonsense like you guys do. So you're going. But that's not true. We are people of substance. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Share the show. Let somebody know we are here. We're going to be talking about issues. We're going to be talking about the Middle East. We're going to be talking about Liberia. We're going to be talking about current events all around the world. There is no shortage of topics. Let me welcome Honorable Victor Nambe. He is saying we should audit the Liberian House of Representatives, or the entire legislature.
The entire bunch. The entire bunch.
Welcome to the show, Honorable Nambe.
Happy Sunday to you. Happy first Sunday. It's good to be here with you guys.
Excellent, excellent. Fidel from across the pond. How? Oh, that's the former Prince Andrew's nephew. How you doing there, Chief?
my uncle is doing well as well. Even though he's been arrested and all that, but
why the guy got me, your nephew, to the former prince?
I don't mind. I'll take it. I'll take it. Everybody got one bad uncle in their family, so I'll take it. But what he wouldn't say is that his Chelsea was beaten mercilessly by my Arsenal today, so that one would not carry him more at all.
You're cheated.
We don't want the referee now, so I would not cheat.
And you're made medicine.
Okay.
To my photo. let me welcome Joseph Tower. Joseph Tower, no more key. They brought Koto, they brought medicine, they brought everything with them just to be on 2-1.
Yes. Hi to my fellow panelists and hi to our viewers. I'm glad to be here. today, the first Sunday in this month, to be part of this discussion. I know we have very, very versatile panelists here for us to be able to give our views. In our opinion, according to Dr. Budi, so that we know that they can be like,
you have to quantify it, or else qualify it, or else things might start going out of hand.
The good thing about your opinion is most of the time, 99.9% of the time, you are quoting a newspaper, you are quoting your sources. So that's reliable. I would say the reliability is very, very high, and I love that. We are not gossiping. There's no G's. We're not going to people's mothers and cursing and carry on. So if that pleases you, please share this show. Let's talk about what's happening in Liberia. But before we go to Liberia, we're going to go on the international scene. Is this a wall of civilizations? Is it a religious war? Is the war in the Middle East a war of ideologies? Is it them against us? So we're going to delve into what is happening in the Middle East. And when your parents tell you that there is no substitute for education and intellect, don't doubt your folks. Intelligence and knowledge will beat any savage any day and any time. I don't care how many there are. So if I'm a betting man, I will put my money on the University of Cambridge, the London School of Economics, Harvard, Cornell, Yale, Princeton, University of Houston, University of Massachusetts, against all odds. But that as they may be, here we are. Today is Sunday, the first day of March, 2026. There's a lot going on. Are we about to see a new world order? Is the world turning, or is it stationary? Do we have any say-so in what's going on? How can we compare what's going on in the Middle East with what's going on in Africa, what's going on in Iraq, what's going on in Israel, what's going on in Tehran, and what's going on in the Republic of Liberia? Do we have any underlying thread what connects everything? We will also discuss in Greek philosophy, just as it is in the scripture, Hebrews is defined as excessive pride to your own detriment. Is that what happened to Representative Solomon George in Liberia? We will discuss. We will also touch on the yellow machines in Liberia. Are they all yellow? It looks like the more we find information, the more questions it raises. So to help me welcome some of these topics, some may be very unpleasant, very difficult to discuss, but that's why we got expert and Dr. Booty's here to break it down to the nuance for people like who don't know, who can understand, or you will break it down. And then when it comes to the mechanical and scientific part, Mr. Taiwo is here, and our own professor of chemistry. You didn't know that Victor Nangbe taught chemistry.
Nangbe.
So we got everybody here. We got chemists, we got analysts, we got sociologists, you name it, we're here. So let's get to it. Let's start with what's happening worldwide. This is current event. Dr. Booty, you are on the other side of the earth, just like we are. We are on opposite side of the pond. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? Your thought about the war between Iran, Israel, and the U.S. What do you think is going on? What do you think is the real roots?
Well, for you to call it a war, it's not really a war, is it? It's basically a massacre of innocent people, brown people in Iran, because you've got two leaders who are very unpopular in their own countries, who are trying to cling on to power, and they believe, Netanyahu believes that as long as he's fighting wars, then he's not going to get challenged in an election in Israel. He's not going to be held accountable for his corruption, which the courts are trying to investigate him for. And so that's why he keeps attacking Iran. Right? We keep hearing, I read this morning the Prime Minister of Australia, the Prime Minister of Canada, the European Union, and our, there's a word I want to use on our own Prime Minister, but our very inept Prime Minister here in the UK, Keir Starmer, who is so bound on staying in power that he undermined his own party that the party lost an election recently because he didn't want the guy who was going to run in that seat and win to challenge him once he became an MP. So these are the individuals that are telling us, oh, we support the US because they're preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Israel has a nuclear weapon. Iran doesn't. Israel doesn't allow inspectors in their country to assess their nuclear capabilities. Iran does, right? Just a few months ago, there were bombings in Iran to basically kneecap its nuclear program. Iran has always held that it is using nuclear for civil reasons, for electricity, and we know that maybe here in the UK we use nuclear for electricity. And again, a country that is willing and open. There was a deal in place that Obama signed. Again, you can agree and disagree with the deal, but that was in place. Trump came in and ripped it up. And now to go in and bomb a country and kill innocent people and push for regime change. Who gives the United States or Israel the right to determine who leads another country, right? But unfortunately, that's the status quo. These are the countries that have the sway and the military might to be able to do what they want to do. Obviously, they can't go and do that to a Russia or a North Korea or China. Why? Because some analysts say that, well, these countries have nuclear weapons, so you're not stupid enough to go and try them. Hence, most analysts, and I do agree, saying that this unprovoked destabilization and destruction and killing of brown people by white people actually will push a lot of countries to try and get nuclear weapon as a deterrent, right? Because at the end of the day, clearly the US will not go and bomb Pakistan or India or those countries because they do have nuclear weapons, right? Because they know that if you do that and they went crazy like Iran is going now, they could use a nuclear weapon. And essentially you want to destroy us, we'll just destroy everyone. So it's a shame that this is what it has come down to. I feel sorry. I think a girls' school was bombed this morning. 140 something girls lost their lives. Countless people are dying, and you have some people around the world applauding this, and this is appalling as it is.
Excellent. On Point is the gold standard in political commentary, the best of the best. Thank you very much, and I'm glad that somebody notices that. And let me welcome Theodosia. We do have, no, we're not going back to Liberia, I can tell you that. She's tuning in from Pennsylvania, and we see Ambassador Evan Flomo from Kakata Mangibi. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm telling you, we are Liberians when it comes to our issues about politics. We are well informed. So yes, we are not going back to Egypt. I can tell you that. Let me go to Honorable Victor Namwe. Victor Namwe, Dr. Booty is looking at it from the prisons of them against us, white folks against brown folks, and he thinks otherwise. And there are other folks who are thinking that, listen, we are missing the point here. This is about energy. This is about oil. This is about control. It has very little to do with everything else. It's about who controls the oil, who controls energy. AI is about to take over the world, and AI needs a lot of energy. I'm talking about serious supplies of energy. And who controls energy controls AI, and that's the future. And here we are. Some people looking at this as a war of nuclear. Some people are looking at it otherwise. This is a master of capitalism. Who controls the oil controls AI, and who controls AI controls the world. That's the future. Your take on the war in the Middle East?
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of commentaries on this, but I like the thesis posits that this is about energy. And when you begin to connect the dots, I think it starts to make sense. Um, the U.S. was in Venezuela. Um, I mean, Hugo Chavez was for a long time was the pain in the neck of this government, but they never went after him like the way this president did. He went after his successor, Maduro. Um, Now he's in Iran. There is an argument that I watched this morning a presentation. This is not my original thought, I'll be honest. But I kind of think it makes a lot of sense. The U.S. is trying to combat China on all levels, and just like you're indicating, they believe one of the major points of contention for future dominance is going to be energy. The AI we're now talking about, it feeds on a lot of energy. And so they have decided, it appears, that they are going to do the best they can to cut off, uh, you know, the energy supply to the biggest competitor on earth right now. And the biggest competitor is not Russia anymore, it's China. And so China imported a lot of oil, or does, from Venezuela, but it so happens that another commentary is indicating that for the next 10 years, China is already locked into Venezuela. They've already paid Venezuela. So whatever this government does, and whatever it is, they own Venezuela for a while. And I think they're realizing that. And so now they're turning to Iran. And I understand China imports about 80% of Iranian oil. And so I think they feel they can go in there and strangulate China and therefore slow down their advance in replacing them as the first world economy, around the world. So I think, yeah, I think this has been driven by energy. I mean, look, you and I grew up with this U.S. Iranian conflict, off and on, off and on. We know about Ronald Reagan coming in, I think, and liberating those Americans who were held. I think it was 1970 something. I don't remember the date. So this is
1980.
exactly. So this is it's a long-standing rivalry that didn't have to come to a climax now, except that the fact that the calculus has changed. And so, yeah, I think this is all about energy. Does Iran have the capacity to pose existential threat to the U.S.? I don't think so. I mean, we are looking at it now. They're trying to push back on this assault from U.S. and Israel. I think the attempt has been at best feeble. So yes, they could probably pose a threat to Israel. I get that, but I don't think a threat so existential to the extent that the U.S. needed to get in like they did immediately. So again, I think this is all about energy. They're trying to cut off the head, that feeds their greatest competitor, China.
Great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to some of the best minds in this business. Taiwo, let's look at the energy piece. You can look at it from any perspective, but let's look at what the U.S. is doing. Look at all the major oil deposits. Venezuela, they are there. Iraq, Kuwait. And if you find another oil deposit, huge oil deposit in Africa, it's Nigeria. So 4 weeks ago, a little over a month ago, they are going there chasing terrorists. So when you look at what's happening around the world, and if you have China coming to Iran and taking the oil for little or nothing, this is the time to strangle them and kick them out, and you have complete dominance over the number one oil reserve in Venezuela. Now you got Kuwait, you got Saudi Arabia, you got Iraq. Hey, I mean, are they fighting a losing battle here?
Okay. Thanks for posting this. You know, in geopolitics, you have to we look too much at what.
Hey, Jerome, let me borrow 5 seconds for Tao, only because I want to annoy him.
Right.
And I was waiting to do this. Happy anniversary to the CMC. Today, the CMC is 1 year old. Mr. Tao, please I'll give you 5 seconds. But happy 1
year to the CMC for surviving for
happy 1 year anniversary to the CMC. Thank you, Mr. Tao. I appreciate your support.
Look at it. No.
Send him the application.
Yeah, but look.
I'll send it to him.
Yeah. The point here is
now I already said about balance. He's confused now. He doesn't know what. Go ahead.
No, we have to look at what they're not saying. The U.S. is not in no position to seriously compete in AR. If you pay attention, Trump, not just Trump, but in the first place, let's look at it from how Dr. Buddha spoke about it. There is a lot of truth to that. But look at what happened here. The U.S., we should not look at it as this president and that administration and this. Because when we do this, we are caught up into the rabbit hole of trying to figure out who one of the white men is better than the other, which one of the administration is better. No. The hegemonic behavior of absolute dominance is the hallmark of the Anglo-Saxon race. You see that there was problem between Connery from this place and others they want to take Canada. And when the first bomb dropped, what happened? Everybody on the same page. They all share that common goal. But they're saying this. The 1945 World Order, the Brentwood, from the Washington Consensus, turned into the Brentwood World Order is over. It is over. Listen to them. Congress said the world-based order, we knew that it was always fake. We knew that it was not real. But we all watch out because we use it and it benefited us. Look, I've been saying it here, the so-called international law and international order is a criminal system. When I say it here, people that I hate the U.S., I hate this, I hate the West, I hate this other person. No, you just have to look at it. Just common human being, nobody sit in their own house, tell you that they're interested in you and your family house, and that they will determine to tell you how you should live and how you should act and what you should do. Anybody put that kind of system in place, you know that it's criminal. It's somebody that want to commit crime against you. It's somebody that want to suppress you. That is what the international so-called rule-based order is. So they themselves, we always knew this, but they didn't say they're admitting it. Now, something that we always knew. The German chancellor just said it again when he was in China, that the rule-based order is over. The reason I'm pointing this out before I even go into the discussion is because we as Africans are Liberian. We're still trying to cling onto the dead rule-based order. Democracy, Western democracy is one of them. The time is coming very soon where the so-called Western democracy, each one will point it out. Our own Africans or Liberians want to crucify us. The West we start pointing that out, that it's not a good system. And that is when we want to jump up and say it's not good, but guess what? It will be too late. The order is changing. Where is Africa in this? Instead of hanging to a dead system that the people themselves use just as a vehicle that they don't care about anymore, instead of looking internally for us to recalibrate ourselves, for us to say, whoa, we've been fooled all these years. What can we do? Where do we start? We still hanging on to it. The same everything at the UN, at this, at that. But look at what is actually happening. The rule-based order is over. The US is being reined in as a regional power. Don't mind what is going on in the Middle East. Trump is the showman that was brought by the business groups who are not national, that are working with the Chinese, the Russians, and the business groups. He is a showman that when your company is closing down and is downsizing and is pretty much liquidating its asset, that's the guy that will come in, the new boss that will bring in to do the downsizing, that will tell you how good it is that, in fact, your life is still ahead of you, you know, that even you getting fired. So how do you come to the American people to tell them that, look, everything that we ran all this time was a scam, is over? But you have to play on that. Is why you see the whole race stuff, the whole immigration, all that stuff is just the front. We are talking about how they're trying to cut off China's hair. When you look at it like that, yes, that's true. But let's look at the reality. Let's take just Venezuela recently. The US went to Venezuela. You think the Chinese didn't know? The Chinese knew, the Russians knew. The arrangement was made. The Chinese and the Russians and the Middle Eastern guy, the Gulf states, they're the one that are going to be in charge of that oil. It already started when Trump said that they will work with the Chinese. What, you know, about banning oil and gas, why U.S. service companies, U.S. Oil companies don't even have the money to invest. It is the Chinese and the Russian, the Gulf states, they have the money. So U.S. companies are going to be service providers. The Halliburton, the Chevron, they're going to just provide service and they get a fee. You're talking about Iraq. Go ahead and look in Iraq when they took over Iraq. Which oil companies that actually own the oil that are, is Chinese, Russians, and Middle Eastern companies. The U.S. companies that are there, they are working in the oil for a long time. They're just providing service. Let's go to Libya. Who have control of the oil? It's the Chinese. It's the Russian, it's the Middle Easterners. U.S. companies are under there providing service. This decision is not made by the U.S. government. As we know, the U.S. government is run by the banking cartel and the business, the corporations. They are making these rules. So the front that you see in there is this plan that they have discussed. Already the Chinese are on board. And I will tell you what it is. They're trying to reduce hardliners, so people that they see as hardliners in this area, because they want to have an area where there is relative calm. I don't know too much about how they view Africa, but I'm just talking about generally. And so after this whole stuff right here, the hardliner in Israel, in Iran, or anywhere else, you will see they will be downgraded, where there will be a new era, where there will be cooperation. Trump is going to China in April. Do you know what that meeting is about? Go ahead and look at the stuff. I found the stuff. They already have minutes of the meeting. I read through it like about 3 weeks ago. The U.S. is going to ask the Chinese, which they already did, but for formality, for resource access, so that it is not stopped, that it continue to flow to the U.S. as a regional power now in the Western Hemisphere. The Chinese have all the infrastructures that distribute resources now. The U.S. have none. The U.S. can compete in AI. AI is not just about when you hold on to the oil, into that oil. It's about building and modernizing your power grid. The U.S. power grid is old. It can barely handle winter. So what did the U.S. do? All the AI facilities, they place them in the Middle East. Go to Saudi Arabia and Qatar, that is where they place them. It's not here in the U.S., but all of this is from to mislead the people. So this is what we are seeing. But this is what I will tell you before I end. Where does Africa stand in this? Because that is my interest here. The decision have been made. If you see what is happening in Somalia, is it Somalia, not Somalia, Sudan? The decision been made that the Arabs, along with the West, they will extend their tentacles from. By the time they reconstruct Gaza and part of Israel, the Arabs want to project themselves deep into Africa, Egypt, all the way down to as far as Sudan and all these places. So that is why when I heard that there was some Fulani defense force in Liberia, we should not take that lightly. The reason that the US is active in Sudan for them to split it, they're in Chad, they're in all these places, the Saudis. These decisions have been made already. What people call prophecy, that's people that are not planning. Other people that are planning, they call it is planning. They're planning these things ahead of time. So this is where we are. Why there's some aspect of this. When they're done, the oil in Iraq is not going to no US company. The Chinese are locked in. You will see when Trump come from, I would say that when Trump come from China in April, you will see Chinese electric vehicles will start coming into the US. Because what they're not telling you is BYD, they keep telling you that's the largest. Do you know some of the shareholders, largest shareholders in BYD? What is this guy's name? Bill Gates' friend? The one that owned, I know, Bernanke or something like that? Warren Buffett. Buffett owned almost 20-something% in BYD. These are the financiers, the American corporation banks. So the time is going to come and they're going to bring them here. So I'm just trying to let you know there is not that actual fight. Why there's some differences. Why you see playing out. It's a show to mislead us. But the US is in retreat and Trump is downsizing. Let's look at everything that Trump has done to weaken the US. Pulling from the other organization, you are reigning in the US on their global power, you are relinquishing it. That is all that it is. Because the US don't have the capacity and ability anymore to maintain it. They're too much indebted. They are weak in terms of trying to really control. So they're in retreat. And the US now will just be used as that force to go in to this other era and then turn it over to the new order. And the US is going to be part of it, but they're not going to dominate like they would the world.
Thank you. Honorable Dr. Booty, we are in, I would say it was 1988, 1989, when Papa Bush made a declaration that upon his order, it is now a new world order, meaning the world you knew prior to 1988 is no more. We look at the new world order here, and did Iran put herself in trouble by not making this an economic or political war, but making it a religious war? Does that give other folks the opportunity to look at them as demagogues and that need to be extinguished?
Well, Mr. Gaiman, I'm sure you're reading the same evidence that we're all reading, and asking a question that concerns me, because Iran didn't start a war. It didn't invade any country and try to convert them to Islam. Iran didn't threaten, well, they have threatened Israel verbally, but they've never launched any preemptive strikes against Israel before. Israel and the United States are the two that are always launching preemptive strikes. Again, I like the analysis from you. I like the analysis from Mr. Nangwe and Mr. Tao as well. And even if this is about power or energy or whatever, the way that the US have gone about is wrong. That's my point, right? There are many ways. So you've got the Saudis, you've got the Saudis and others that they've negotiated deals with to be able to buy their oil and things like that. I do not believe that the Iranians will oppose to selling their oil to America if it means that it brings money into their economy, right? So I don't see how that is a problem. I think here is, look, whether it's a new world order or not, I don't believe it's a new world order. I think that's where I disagree with my brother, Mr. Tawa. I think it's a new world order. I think Trump was trying to do Trump, and unfortunately, we look at the issue with uh, England, for example, the Europeans pushed back on that, and others pushed back, and Trump has kind of retreated. I think this is nothing new. The Americans or the West going into countries and bombarding countries. They did it in Yugoslavia. They did it in Libya. They've done it in Vietnam. They've done it in Cambodia. So this is not a new phenomenon, right? This is something the U.S. has always done. They do to try the countries to do. I do believe, and I agree with you, Mr. Nangwe and Mr. Tao, on this point. There's an economic aspect to it, right? I didn't focus on that. I focused more on the policy and the fact that it was unjust, right? But there is an economic aspect to everything, right? Everything that happens on this planet is about money, right? Everything. And the war that is going on in Iran right now is about money. They keep saying regime change, they say nuclear weapons. I personally do not know, and that's why I accept the analysis that put forward. What exactly it is? If it's about energy, or it's about, because we know it's not about nuclear weapons. We know it's not about Iran being an existential threat to the world, right? That they're threatening international. Look, planes were flying. A friend of mine was supposed to be traveling to the Middle East tomorrow, and his flight has been canceled. Iran didn't start the war that canceled his flight, right? So Iran is not the one that's threatening his peace. So at the end of the day, I don't know what the economic aspect is, and I'm open to learning from the rest of the panelists. But whatever it is, my position is this is wrong. The U.S. and Israel should not be doing it, and it needs to stop because ordinary people are dying, and that is just unacceptable.
Honorable Victor Nambe, you got one of your sisters there from Plebo, Maryland County, tuning in. So we know that people in Maryland County can watch TV. You know, I never knew they had TV up there, but you proved me wrong. She's watching from.
Man, look, you're coming to redefine your Congo self here again on TV. Okay, so Maryland County, we're queen. You know, we gave you up President William V.S. Tubman. We have uninterrupted power supply thanks to Cote d'Ivoire. And so we're living it up in Maryland. Let me welcome my Marylanders, especially I saw my boy here, George. That's George. George is my boy, George Quay. He was the district education officer. Actually, he came from Monrovia and took over as principal of the only high school that we have in Barobo Central High School, and then quickly got elevated to district education officer. But it looks like he's now in I forget, but he's been repositioned. So he did tell me a couple of days ago. I know right now he's saying to myself, "Wow, this guy is really he forgets everything." But anyway, it's good to be here again. You know, I don't disagree with Mr. Powell.
I beg you before you move away from the Maryland topic. Let me just have 30 seconds, right? Because there are a few things I want to say to Mr. Gamer. First of all, I visited.
You know, this guy who lives underwater, Dr. Booty. Can you imagine?
I visited both Buchanan and Harper City, and I must admit, Harper is a way more, even with all of the destruction that went on, it's a way more advanced city, well structured, well built city than Buchanan is. Also, just throw this one out there. My new neighbor is a Nigerian professor who used to teach at Tubman University for 15 years. He only moved to the UK, I think, about 2 years ago. So that Maryland is exporting people as well because he refers to himself as an honorary Liberian. So don't be putting your mom Maryland County.
I need to say no more, Dr. Booty. You finish saying it all, but let me also
welcome university in your county. Then you want to put your mom Maryland.
Thank you very much.
Listen, the greatest asset that Baza has that Maryland County will never have. We are 88 miles away from Monrovia. 88 miles.
And what does that do for Grand Bassa County?
But I noticed the former president of the Barobo here in the U.S., Mr. Samuel Tanwe Gusne, is also watching. So thank you to the former president watching from Minnesota. But it's good to be here. So I don't disagree with Mr. Tao. I think Dr. Booty in part two. I don't think this is necessarily a new world order. I think it's a reordering of priorities. Now we understand, like we're saying, the AI revolution is really is imposing a lot of demands on these economies for power, energy, and so I think the priorities have been reordered. And Mr. Tao, I think is right. The U.S. I think is lagging in on the AI race, but and this is why I think they're fighting smart. They know China is trailblazing, and so how else to fight China until they get caught up? Remember, we had Sputnik. I think you remember that, Jerome and Dr. Budi. The Russians were the first, to go out into outer space, and they beat the U.S. to it, and the U.S. Kennedy then all of that, and they say, not on our watch eventually. So I think eventually they will catch up to China, but how best to slow China down and to cut off, the energy supply. And I think that is what they're doing. Venezuela, has a lot of oil. China also, is dependent on Iran. Iran has a lot of oil. And so I think what they're doing is they're fighting them on all fronts, especially on the energy front. So yeah, is this a new world order? I don't know that it really is, except that priorities have been rearranged. And unfortunately, I think Iran has not, and that is part of the problem with our conservative, regimes around the world, Africa included. It takes too long for us to get to smell the coffee and wake up. Most times we get left way behind, and then we start playing catch up. I think Iran is still in the 80s, or maybe early 90s in terms of the world outlook. And so I think the US really really cut them. I don't know, Jerome. And you and I will marvel over how quickly they were able to go into Venezuela, in spite of the widely publicized intention to do so. Trump doesn't hide, his intention. He telegraphs everything he does. He's probably the most easy person to read. And the Iranians must have known that he was coming too. And yet, on the very first day of intervention, they decapitated the entire, leadership. I understand. I mean, the Najib may have also been killed, the former president. And
Mhm.
so they really, really went deep, deep into the vacuum that they have created in Iran. It's going to take them a long time, to reconstitute. And so they're disrupting, I think, most of those countries that are friendly to China, that are making it easier for China. Like we're saying, the AI, China is way ahead, but those things require enormous amount of energy. I know we'll talk about how this impacts Africa, but I was shocked. China is the biggest supplier of oil to Liberia. I always thought it was Nigeria. And so the repercussions here will reverberate throughout the world, especially Africa and Liberia in particular. And so I hope our people are taking notice of what is happening. They shouldn't get caught with their pants down. They need to anticipate and prepare. Like we've been telling them to prepare for the pullout. You say they curse us, they throw us on the internet and all of that. And look, where are we today? So I don't know if it's a world order. I just think it's a rearrangement of the priorities based on the demand, the emerging demand. People are shifting. How many of our people in Liberia are on the internet, Jerome? How many of our agencies have a website you can go to and get anything? You and I will always talk about this since we came from Liberia. But almost every government now is on social media. Even the president of the United States, he announces his major policies on his true social account. you know. But our people, they still shun these things, they want to take a trip on every opportunity they get. If they have to go to Belarus, they will get on the plane and go when they could sit in Monrovia and conduct a meeting virtually. So we're far behind. And the AI revolution, and everybody will eat our lunch. You always say that, Jerome. We are behind every country that is behind. And that's how things are with us. But this is what is happening in the Middle East. I think is going to rearrange a lot of several governments' priorities, and I hope Liberia is paying attention.
Dr.
Sorry, Mr. King, let me just say something. Now we're
Yes.
saying the U.S. is able to go into Venezuela and Iran just quickly like that. That David and Goliath thing that only in the Bible it can happen. In normal life, Goliath can always beat David. So that's the US spends 4 times more on their military than the closest country, which is China. China spends 400 billion. The US spends 1 trillion on their military. So there is no country in the world that military comes close. So they just bully people, right? Iran doesn't stand a chance.
Okay, Dr. Booty, let's go to you think Iran made himself an easy target by trying to make this a religious war, thinking that if it were framed as Muslims against Christian and Jews, that all the other Muslim countries would rally towards her aid, and now that they didn't, they turn on them. They're attacking every country in their neighborhood. How is this possible? How? I mean, everybody has some kind of ally. How can you attack everybody around you and expect to survive?
No, Mr. Gamer, I'll try and make this quick, right? Because I know Mr. Tao wants to say something. Iran, again, you're listening to the Western media spin propaganda and you're buying this as facts, right? Iran didn't make this a religious war. Iran has an issue with all of the Muslim countries around them because they're friends with Israel and the US. Iran has been under sanction from the US for years, right? Simply because there's a disagreement in political worldview, right? Iran sees the world differently. The U.S. and Israel sees the world differently. This is just initially anyway. Obviously, it's shifted now to more financial and other aspects. So Iran didn't make this Islam against. Again, you're listening to the Western media and you find those rhetorics, right? Iran did not start this war. This war was not started by Iran. Didn't tell America would come and bomb you or tell Israel would come and bomb you. No, Israel and America were the ones that started the war. Iran has not made it about Islam and Christianity or Judaism, right? So let's get that fact straight. You know, it's Western media that might make it like that. Iran, yes, is a pariah state. And I don't have an issue with a country being a pariah state. No, look, we're all different. You know, the four of us on this panel right now were born in Liberia. Well, I assume that I'm not sure whether Mr. Tao was born in Liberia, but we're
Nope.
all born in Liberia,
I
right?
wasn't born anywhere near Liberia.
Exactly. You see? Yeah. Thank you for bringing out the preparation for Tao. The day he won't run to be president, we'll bring it out again. But anyway, we were all born in Liberia, and each of us have a completely different view of the world or of our country. Mr. Gaiman and Mr. Nangwe believe in one aspect of how Liberia should be. Mr. Tao has his own views. I have my own, even though we're from the same country. People should be allowed to think the way they want to think, as long as that thinking doesn't negatively impact on me. The Americans keep saying, "Oh, Iran, you go and build bases around Iran, right? You've got at least about 20-something bases around their country. Obviously, they're going to be frightened because people know your way of doing things. You know, let's bring this to Liberia, for example. I was reading a book the other day by a guy called Neil Hand, 200 years of U.S. military intervention in Liberia. Every time people say something that the Americans don't like, they send their bombs in. Every time. This happens everywhere. The Americans do not know how to negotiate in good faith. Their answer to everything is to bully people. That's exactly what they are. And so that you're saying that Iran made a religious war. No, Iran hasn't made a religious war. The American media might be saying that, but even that, I don't know where you're getting your story from, because all of the American media I've read have not made a religious war. They've made it about nuclear weapons and extra whatever threat, the immediate threat to Israel and the US. There isn't a threat. There isn't there aren't any nuclear weapons. This is a war that was made up by the Americans and the Israelis. Now, the motivation, each of us have our view. I think it's racist. Some people think it's financial. Other people think it's about technology and energy. There might be different. It might be a multitude of reasons, right? It might not just be one thing. It might be many things put together. But Iran did not start this. It's not a religious war. It is basically a slaughtering of innocent people because other people believe that they can do it and get away with it.
Great.
Let me just push back on my young brother here, the doctor. Most of what you said, I agree. I think the U.S. bullies a lot of countries around the world, sometimes unjustifiably. But I tell you this, Dr. Budi, I think the posture also that Iran has assumed in the Middle East doesn't make it any easier for anybody to talk in their favor. Look, you know that President Trump brought Cyril Ramaphosa in the White House and began to, to belittle and bully him. Yeah, he did push back, but what did he do? He went back and reinforced, his alignment with the BRICS nation, and and went on with his business. But the Iranians have persistently and consistently, they have preached very bullish rhetorics against the U.S. The proxy wars that they sponsor around the world, from the Houthis to the Hezbollah, to I know all over the place. So if you can't fight the people, I don't know if it makes any sense for you to continue to scratch them everywhere they're scratching the US in every way, every capacity possible. And I think by that they themselves have placed themselves in the crosshairs of the US. Is it right that the US will go after any and everybody who bullies them? No, I don't think so. I think if you're the big brother around the block, you play the big brother and you try to defend against all the, you defend the weak. But sometimes I think they even attack the weak. I mean, Venezuela and other such nations. But the Iranians, they have been posturing as though they're able to punch the US in the mouth. And this is the kind of rhetoric they've been putting out there. This is what makes it very difficult for you. Look, what have they done? They're attacking everybody in the region since this outbreak, the recent outbreak. Even nations that have nothing to do with this war. Yeah, you might say these are friends of the US and all of that, but I understand Dubai has absolutely nothing to do in this war, but they're attacking them. And so I think it's a posturing that makes it very difficult for them to rally the kind of support that is necessary to defend them.
No, but
Right.
Mr.
Can I
what
speak?
you're saying, sorry, Mr. Tao, let me just say something quickly, right? What you're saying is, look, when I was in school and you were getting bullied, right? They normally advise you to stand up for yourself. It doesn't mean that you can beat the bully, but you just stand up and say something, and maybe it might. You can't say to the Americans, "Oh, the Americans should threaten you every day," and just sit there and say nothing. Just sit there and say nothing. Just sit there and say nothing. That would encourage them even more.
No, I understand
Maybe
that.
if
If
you
the
say,
bully
"Oh,
comes to
you
you,
slap me, I
if,
will slap you back," maybe it
yes,
will make them worry
exactly.
a
When
little
the
bit.
bully comes to you, you fight back. But when the bully is
No,
going
but they
that
are
way,
fighting. No, but they
No,
killed some Americans
I
in the
understand that.
on the
But I'm
basic
saying to
yes.
you, when a
Uh-huh.
bully who bullies you every day is
And they
today
killed some
working this
Israelis
way,
as well.
listen,
You know.
Look,
the fighting is different from poking somebody in the eye. Yes, let's
yeah,
go.
let's go. So everybody that is listening,
Uh-huh.
so that we are not confused, also we don't leave in it. Let me put this into a historical context. When the British control the whole Middle East, they were confronted by the Ottoman Empire, which they left off to this Turkey. The Turks control the Middle East, and the Arabs were trying to be free. As the British Empire was about to get weak, but they were still strong to some extent, they had an agreement with the Arabs that we can help you resist the Ottoman Empire and we can join in to fight. But we are going to establish the state of Israel and the Gulf states, because I'm trying to put some of the context why you see when Israel is bombing, why you see when all this stuff is happening to the Palestinians, they don't do anything. They don't say anything. These are agreements. So they help, and that is how the so-called Gulf states, they gain their independence from the Turks. The Iranians were controlled by the British until around the late 30s, 40s or so, and then they started to lose power. But just in that time, Churchill was in power. They discovered oil. That was the first place in the Middle East they discovered oil, in Iran. I want to put this in the context so we can stop all the suburbs who bullying who. Now, when they discovered oil, the British decided to control the oil. The first oil company that they established was the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. They took the oil with no metering, with no reporting, with no auditing for decades. The Iranians were the grunts working the field. Then the Iranians got tired and the population rose up. Mohammed Mossadegh led the people. He was in prison. He was arrested by the British. He forced them, and when he became president, he was voted in democratically in 1950-51. By 1952, he forced the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company to be audited. The same thing Torba did with Firestone that led to his death. He said, either we audit you or you leave. But the British saw that they'd stolen so much that if they open a book, they would be too ashamed. So with their arrogance, they said no, they left. Churchill came to Truman and said, we find the oil is our oil. We need you to help us so that we can overthrow the Iranian government. Truman said, no, I don't want to have anything to do with it. After Truman, Eisenhower came to power. Eisenhower in power, two of them, the war hawks from the World War II victory. They sent in Theodore Roosevelt grandson, who was a CIA agent, Colonel Roosevelt, overthrew Mossadegh. Then they established the Shia of Iran from 1953. With the Red Army, they dominated the area, they looted the oil. So when you keep saying who is bullying who, put this into context. Here are people who elected their own government trying to self-determine. Self-determination is not allowed in a Western world order. They are a criminal group of people. The history and the record is there. They're the most criminal group that ever walked this earth. It is not about hatred. The history is there. The America that we live in, America is a crimogenic society. The very inception of America began criminally. Come here and exterminate the people and take the land. This is all that they know how to do. That is why Dr. Booty said they don't negotiate. No, that is not how they work. You need to go back and look at your own history when your people, at the time, they froze in the ice. When they say there's some very bad people behind that ice, we should never let them loose behind the Caucasus Mountain. So this is what you see here. And the Iranians endured almost 50 years. Then they resisted and they threw the Shia out. And since they came in, because we keep saying that they say that only democracy works. But anytime somebody have another form of government for them to self-determine, they never want to allow it. Only for them to point out, you see, they would have succeeded only if they were democratic. That's a lie. Because you never allow anyone else to practice anything else. You go and commit crime against them. So that is what we are seeing here. So I just wanted to put that in the context. So no, it is not Iran that is picking on anybody or posturing. Then after the person did this to you, then you turn around, you instruct no basis. Please, don't say here that they're bombing Dubai and UAE and they have nothing to do with it. They're not they're bumping military bases in those areas. All those countries have military bases there. In Bahrain and Dubai, they have the 7th Fleet and all the stuff. That's a whole strap battle group that they have in those places. That's why they're bumping as those bases to cripple the airfield so that they can take off. So let us put this in the context. But look, I want to ask one question. What happens if we're all in one bus and then we are driving from Buchanan to Harper? Then by the time when we get the river says, the driver that's behind the wheel leave and another driver sit there. Because we are in the same bus. When you say that there is a new driver in charge, we are all in the same world. It's a new world order, a world order in which the West does not dictate the terms unilaterally anymore. It's a new world order. Plain and simple. But I will say this for me to just wrap up. Look at what happened here. The only thing that is in this about holding on to oil, it is not about them cutting out China so much as in trying to protect the dollar. Remember, Iran joined the BRICS, and that all the countries started trading in each other currency. When Liberia was just put on that list, remember Liberia was removed off of that so-called visa list. Do you know what happened? Liberia and China signed direct currency swap. The moment they signed, Liberia was put on some list. Nigeria switched their debt. Why do Liberia or Nigeria need to pay their debt in US dollars that they owe to China? So China is saying, hey, look, you owe this money to me. You don't need to go to Washington to buy the money. Then you come back and change it, you lose all kinds of money. So it's a win-win. Look at what you do here. Let's swap it, pay me in yuan. You can hold some yuan reserve, and then we'll hold this, and then we'll swap. Do you know what that did when Nigeria switched to that? They saved hundreds of billions of dollars. Ethiopia ordered and started doing the same thing. What does that do? It weakened the US. Now the sanctions can't work anymore because transactions are not happening without their knowledge. Transactions are not happening that they don't have the information for them to blackmail people in the lie about money laundering, all of this and terrorism. And so oil is the biggest stuff. Go and read John Perkins' book, Confession of an Economic Hitman, declassified document of the West on how they function. Go and see the Saudi American money laundering scheme. Go and look at those things. These are declassified CIA documents. The same Iran that they're talking about, and I will rest on this. After they overthrew Khomeini, or the Shia, when they all fled here, some of the things that they don't discuss here. Why is it that when they took over the U.S. embassy, why is it that the U.S. with all of its might have never punished anybody? Do you know why? Because both Democratic and Republican parties signed an agreement with the Iranian government that is in power today. When it was overthrown, Jimmy Carter was in power and election was coming. The Republicans went to the Iranians and told them, hold on to the hostages, occupy the embassy until he loses and he will be seen as weak on security. They don't tell you these ones. So the Iranians, they say, because if it happens and we win, we'll give you immunity. The Democrats learned about it. The Carter administration went to the Iranians and said, what can we offer you? The Iranians said, all of the Shia men that fled into the U.S., the top security advisor on these people, gave us access so we can assassinate them. The Democrats opened the U.S. up, and Iranians assassins came and assassinated these guys and mail delivery people in the U.S. But they saw that the Carter administration was already weak. So after they assassinated those guys, they dumped the Democrats and they went with the Republicans. And as soon as Carter lost, the Iranians freed the hostages.
Yeah.
And that is why you see that no matter what happened, the families will cry and do all the stuff. The U.S. government seal lip. They can't even say anything about charging Iran because that was a deal that they made. But these are things that are in the background.
Thank you. Guys, we are on the 1 hour mile. Let's go to a quick break here.
Hi, my name is Abby Tyler from Pennsylvania, and you're watching Focus on Liberia. Hi, my name is Abby Tyler from Pennsylvania, and you're watching Focus on Liberia.
You are watching Focus on Liberia.
You need to learn how the technology team and that AI do all the thing for you.
The AI is doing it. I just told you we need energy for
no energy.
And then there's a time when you can't drive bus or inside of Maryland. Why would we do that kind of thing there? Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Our medical people told us every hour we need a little break so the guys can stretch their legs. As we get older, we don't want no blood clot. We don't want no problem. So come in and do our little stuff, our little commercial, so you can go ahead. So you can actually stretch your legs and move around. And Abby Tyler is very, very serious about this. Sometimes we sit on this show for more than 2 hours without moving. Or at least you think we're not moving. So she think that we should have a little break in between and walk around. For you guys who are the spring chickens around here, if you're under 30, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're over 30, like the few of us here, it's a serious issue. Well, guys, let's go to the next issue here. We spent a lot of time on the Iran thing because it's serious. We are going to ask Mr. Padmore to just do a brief overview of what this war, the ramification of this war, and the possible impact it will have on Liberia. Sometimes you think it's way out there, but if you are a country that is dependent like Liberia, where everything is given you, this may have a very, very serious impact. Mr. Padmore, your take on the implication.
All right, thank you so much. I mean, there are three things that are listed there in the topic, and I think those three things are really relevant. The first one, of course, is just oil prices. Okay, oil prices will go up, and oil prices will go up. We know that. How would that affect the Liberian market? As you know, when those kind of prices go up, it's easy to go up, but to come back down, it takes its own time. And the price of gas affects the price of everything. Once gas prices go up, transportation will go up, and when transportation go up, then all of a sudden, how the children get to school, how people get to work, how they bring food to market, those go up, food prices go up, and everything else goes up after that. That's a very, very serious thing. I'm hoping, but when it comes to hoping, that's a whole different thing, that our government is being proactive when it comes to this, so that they can help, keep the price of gasoline at an affordable rate. So they might have to absorb some of that cost. They might have to buy in a larger quantity. This is why the LPRC was created. The LPRC was not created to compete with private organizations or private oil industries like Smerex and other people. LPRC was created for this particular reason. They have the ability to purchase huge quantities now to supplement what private people are doing to keep the gas where it's supposed to be. The second thing would be, of course, the donor community. Everything like Liberia right now, we're depending on our foreign friends, our development partners that stay in the same donor community. Things are going to shift. There's a war in the Middle East. People are going to be hurt. People are going to be they're going to lose shelter. They're going to need medical care. The United Nations and other global leaders are going to shift their attention to that, and that's what's going to become paramount. They're not going to be worried about a country where 20 something years ago you're still war in there and you still begging for stuff. No, there's an impending need right now, whether it's Gaza or whether it's Iran or any one of those countries,
or the U.S.
or the U.S. for that matter. I don't see the UN putting money together for the U.S. The U.S. is, even if the U.S. were to receive some sort of casualty, they will be able to suffice themselves for the most part, I believe. But then finally, you remember we were cheering, we were happy, we were dancing because we are being put on the Security Council. Guess what? Now it's time to wear the big ball pins because the Security Council is going to meet. Okay, and where is Liberia going to sit? Will you sit with America and agree in Israel and agree that what they did was right? Or are you going to put a hard line down and be like, no, we need to call for a ceasefire and we need to ask them to stop doing it? We'll see because it will affect everything else that we do. It will affect everything else. So we'll see, if Liberia can really put on their big pants, and do it. This is what, when how do we say, I've forgotten the saying, but when you pray to be in these positions, Here's what happens. Now you got to actually exercise the responsible thing. So we'll see how it goes. But that's where we are. And I'm hoping this government is not sitting on their hands and just hoping and praying that things work out and they actually have a plan. I'm not very positive about that. But hope is hope. But that's where I stay on those things.
Okay, but you didn't touch the security piece.
Oh, well, I mean, West Africa as a whole, and the whole Sahel region for that matter, continues to be very threatened with, certain elements, right, that have Islamic backgrounds. And, you hearken if that is going to, if that's going to have an impact in Liberia, if that's going to, somehow spread to Liberia, or if people are going to take upon themselves now to make a statement against, the great Satan and the friends of the great Satan. And so, yeah, I mean, it is a security issue in Liberia. And like I said before, I mean, I wish our government is taking steps, but no. Let me tell you what's going to happen, right? They are going to hold a joint security meeting. They will talk about the eating that they come and get from this. They will go to central bank and they will request millions of dollars, like how they usually do. They will take that money all in raw hard cash. It will disappear and nobody will ask them any question about it. Unfortunately, that's the country we live in. It's amazing how Samuel 12 will be on trial for something that this government doing right now. No. Now, as we speak, they are doing it. The same thing what they got Samuel 12 on trial for. They're doing it now as we speak. But it is what it is. We're just hopeful that that they do the responsible thing and be a government and be proactive. Thank you.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are when it comes to, you see, when the folks are talking about, you think it's way out there, it doesn't affect us. Mr. Patmo just broke it down, especially a country that where export nothing, imports everything. We beg for oil, crude oil. We beg for everything that has to do with gasoline product. We beg for rice. Rice has to be shipped from Pakistan, from India.
Mm-hmm.
It has to travel the same way with the same Atlantic Ocean.
It actually has to go through the canal to get to us.
During the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes.
So you see all these things, they are not coming down together. And now, Padmo is a businessman. He knows how to they pass the cost down to the regular people. And who are the regular folks? We are.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are just scratching the surface of what you see in the Middle East. It's a serious issue. And if you think it's going to affect Trump and Netanyahu and those other guys, they wouldn't lose anything that like the Ayatollah and that whole group, because usually you don't see the 1% or the 5% decapitated like who in a wartime will have all your important people under one roof. I don't know what kind of political decision was that, but it's crazy. But let's move to the next topic. Yes.
Can I say something for 5 seconds?
Go ahead.
Remember what I said earlier. It is not by accident. Look, there was the decision have been made that the hardliners in these areas are going to be liquidated. You think it was by accident that they knew that the strike is over there and Ahmadinejad in there, all these people? The goal is when this thing wound down, they will have people in Iran that, remember, not because they sent oil to Russia or China. Remember, they have their own history with Russia. Russia once invaded Iran and occupied Iran twice. And they were forced out. So there are hardliners that still remember that. So they're even careful. So what these so-called moderates see is that these hardliners have influence through the religious movement that they're making it difficult for Iran to actually be loose, to really freely operate. So if you see them get killed, when this thing is over, they will have moderates that are not going to really turn Iran over, but they will be willing for them to do business and deal. in a way that will be acceptable, that multinationals, whether it's from China or from the West, can go in and exploit the resources. Now, whether the Iranian people are actually going to benefit the way improve their life, that's something else. So
Mr.
decapitating
Don't say that. You know that the Iranian people will not benefit. The evidence is that once these multinationals come in, inequality will go up, right?
Yep.
So that's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. You see, Sam Wallow, there is no yellow machine to talk about, so I don't know why you're talking here. We're talking about the red machine, the red truck that came. The red trucks that came. Iran and Turkey are basically the same border, each other speak the same language. It will affect Liberia, obviously. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here talking about what's happening around the world. If Sam Wallow, as educated as you are, if you see what's happening in Iran has no impact, in fact, the rest of your yellow machine may not even come. The rest of your yellow machine may not even come. What are you going to say now? You're going to blame it on the war too? So be careful what you ask for, Mr. Wallow, Dr. Wallow. You just may get it. But let me start with let's go through. Let me start with Pat will say you came in line. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Dukes thing. We are dukesing it up in Liberia.
So okay. So I have mixed feelings about the whole LU thing. I have very mixed feelings about it. To be honest with you, I don't even want to talk about the Dukes thing. To be honest with you, for me,
but we want you to talk about it.
Look, I've been in. I went to school in America, right? I went to school in Liberia. All of the times I've had opportunities presented to me, nobody has ever asked me what place I took in my class. Nobody. I have never been asked that question before.
What place did you take in your class?
Huh?
Yeah, that's right.
What place did you take?
That's okay. That's okay. It means you are great.
21 or 21.
No, me,
You
I
have
asked you.
finally been
Nobody asked
asked.
you. I'm going to be left out. I'm asking you, what place did you take?
I have not been asked by somebody who provided me an opportunity.
Thank you.
If you get opportunity, we'll talk. But the thing is, seriously, I mean, look, if you graduated with honors, yes, it's a good mark. Put it out there. It could be one person. It could be the first 100 in the class that graded with honors. That's it. They're Dukes. What? I don't understand. What even the why is it even being announced? I don't even understand. Look, when we graduated from high school, everybody were young, were kind of rash, were all Dukes, competing on that level. Fine. You're in college, you're grown, responsible adult. You're fighting over Dukes business. It for me, it was so Liberian-like. It was so 50, 75 years ago thing. What are you going to do with that degree? That's my question. How is that degree going to change your life, your family life, your generation after you life? What are you going to do when you step into the marketplace or you have that opportunity presented to you? How are you going to make waves to change the tapestry of Liberia? That should be the question. Not about Dukes. Look, the person that Dukes my class, that Dukes my college class, right? I will not call him, even though nobody will know that I'll work it. And the guy that Dukes my college class, right? I'm the one that tutored her. Afterwards, when we went to our master's program, I'm the one. She used to call me. I used to tutor her. Those things don't matter. It was so draining for me. That's why you say I have not commented on the whole Dukes thing. It is just so draining for me. It is just lackluster. And if you want to really talk about it, let's talk about the process. Let's talk about the process. How do they get to that? How do they get grades out? Why is Tier 1 Gonglo an instructor commenting on this? Yeah, those kind of conversation I want to have because those are systemic ones. Dukes, Please, man. Please. I don't even want to talk about it.
Dr. Booty, I thought Dukes, these things, I thought they were like, let's say for high school or middle school. I never heard, I went to grad school, I never heard somebody, but we might have been what? Our graduate class might have been like maybe the University of Florida, Florida Atlantic had, we have 30,000 students. Their graduation, different classes, we don't even know who's graduating. I never heard, they may put an asterisk, right? Graduate with honor, with, but I never heard Dukes. So, and it doesn't matter. You see the guy who graduated with high honor. You go down the street, he's working at McDonald's just like you. You're trying to make your way somewhere else. You don't say there's a special job for those who graduated Dukes. No. So, what is this thing that it has taken over our national conversation?
Well.
Where are you talking your class? What place
like that, can we start? So when I graduated from high school, I wasn't the deuce. There's a friend of mine, he lives in Virginia now, who was the deuce. And there was no argument, right? I think my average when I graduated from St. Peter's Lutheran was like 89%.
Oh, you went to St. Peter's Lutheran?
Yeah, I graduated.
Man, what is St. Peter's Lutheran, man?
Man, leave me. Let me tell my
I sat on the evil jockey.
Now because nobody asked me.
You're confused on this show.
Jockey, man. I do have something come on. Go ahead. Go ahead, G.
Both of you confused. Go ahead.
No, but the guy who do his percentage was I think 96%. So there was no argument. I couldn't even get fair. If they were on 90, I on 89. I said, oh maybe but the guy he does proper does. And he's a brilliant guy. He lives in the US. He works for the US government. He's very, very brilliant. Very, very brilliant. But like you said, Mr. Gamian and Mr. Patno mentioned this as well. I did my undergrad, my master's, and my PhD all in the UK, right? And when I did my undergraduate degree, we didn't have any dues, right? Everybody, you get your classification. So in the UK, you've got the top is first class, and then you got upper second class, which is like a B. You got lower second class, and you got third, right? And then anyone who doesn't get any of those classifications, you graduate without honors. I was fortunate to graduate with a 2-1, which is upper second class. But I think most people in my class graduated with upper second class or second class, right? Which is either the B or C kind of thing. I don't think anyone graduated with first. Masters, I was upper second class as well. So I've always been kind of a B student, I do conversation and my can be that. So, but in the UK system, we don't have that. I know, I think in US high schools, you have your valedictorian or whatever they call it. You go and give a speech. And yes, at that level, you want to try and encourage young people to aspire to something. So I understand why you would encourage them to push themselves as much as possible. Like you said, once you come to the undergraduate and graduate levels, you're specializing in whatever it is you want to do in your life in terms of career, right? So we can sit in the same class. Sometimes we do one course together and you do different courses there. And at the end of the day, you're going one direction, I'm going another direction. So what you get in terms of classification and what I get is irrelevant to each other. But let me say this, and I know Mr. Nangwe will be jealous, because he didn't go to the University of Liberia. But I went to the University of Liberia for one semester. And that one semester was in 2001, I think. And I remember very vividly that after taking all of my exams, right, I couldn't get my grades, right? The lecturers basically said to me, here are the list of grades, right? If you want this grade, this is what you have to pay. If you want that grade, and I actually took my test, right? And I felt that, look, obviously because I came to a system where we actually studied and were able to do what we were supposed to do. I felt that I had done enough to get enough grades to pass. But the rule of the day was, my brother, I think you on your own. You don't pay, you don't get in grade. And thank God I left the system, because unfortunately, I would have had to do that throughout my university life. Now, whether that has changed, I don't know. I believe it's gotten worse in some cases. So when you start talking about dues in a system where people can buy grades, it undermines the whole argument of who's the dues and who's not the dues. Because how do we know who's paying and who's not paying? Right? How do we determine that? Because the person who's paying will not come and say, "Oh, me, I pay for grill," and the person who is not paying, and when they say I didn't pay, we're like, I don't believe you. So there's no need for this to be a national conversation, and it just tells you, Mr. Gimme, and I'll end on this, how less busy we are as a people. Right? We didn't do anything serious, so small thing they can just pull out what year and I didn't know we're gonna be talking about.
Mm. Uh, Honorable Namwe, we are talking about uh, this thing came out, and then they said there were a group of students that filed a petition, and they reached out to Martin Cully, and he became, I guess, their spokesperson. But if you made it grade and everything is okay, I mean, it's like a class action. Why would people, gang up against one person through petition and going for calling the cavalry to come and make sure that she torpedoed? I mean, I find that to be very suspicious.
Oh.
I think the
My man,
I think
stop, man. Nangbe, stop. You know how we'll be answering. The very first thing you say is where you came when you got it there. I want to know where you come on, my man.
I
Hey,
mean, they
where
never,
were you?
they never not even listed, so don't worry about it.
yeah, I was at the bottom of my I was at the bottom of my class. I was never the Dukes. I was never in the second, third, fourth, 10th place. But
Jeez.
I think I agree with Michael. This ordinarily will not be newsworthy, but I think it is because of the other little intangibles that are connected to this. Um, Councillor Gongo was brought in, and I posed this question to his brother the other day. He talked to me about student teacher privacy. I get that, but he's a presidential candidate. Not only is he a presidential candidate, he is a presidential candidate who prides himself on integrity. But he was brought into this. And I thought this, it has the potential to impinge on the integrity of the university and the law school, especially in these times when so much credibility is lacking in Liberia. I think a lot of us thought the law school could be one of those little bastions, of some modicum of integrity. And so this is why this is concerning to a lot of us. And the whole thing just seems to be so mishandled, you know. Um, I have absolutely no appetite for it, but I just, I'm following with just amazement. Yeah, I agree with Dr. Budi. I don't really have much fish to fry in the U.S. do thing, but I have a lot of friends who went to the university and a lot of very good, very smart friends. Dr. Duboyan, where everybody talks about, yeah, he was on Cutting briefly, but he went to the University of Liberia. Dr. Budi sitting right here. So there are a lot of very good, bright Liberians who went to the University of Liberia, and I just can't imagine how this university has been dragged to the bottom. And so I really thought this would be an opportunity for the university to redeem itself, but I can't say that right now with all that is happening. This thing came out, then this girl, a lot of her friends have been writing in the press, and then Martin Colley bringing on his stuff, and then the president, dismissing Martin's concerns, and then the board reversing her, and then all of this about Councillor Gonglo, putting out his first message of congratulations, and then editing it, revising it. It just seems to me like everything about Liberia is deeper than it seems. And so I think they should try and get to the bottom of it. But I think the graduation has already happened. Apparently, if this girl legitimately is the deuce, I think I don't know, maybe for good, because no press is bad press, they say. Every press, every publicity, is good, because it gets you the headlines. I don't know. But I think this is something she really, if she did earn it, I think she prides herself in and worked hard for it. But here we are, talking about who's the deuce? And Michael said, I don't remember anybody ever asking me what my position was, when I graduated or even when I took my certification test. You take the test and the testing agency remits the grades to your employment agency, boom, you're done. And all of this, well, I'm just really shocked. But it is really not newsworthy. I think Wallo is right for once. We should go onto the yellow machine. I don't know what he's excited about, but that's my take on this. It is really shouldn't be anything newsworthy. But out of these little things that are pulling in the integrity of a presidential candidate, my dear friend, my brother-in-law, Tiawan Gonglo, I think he has a responsibility to come and clear the air. It is pulling in the integrity of this president, who I think is doing a lot of good at the university. It is pulling in the board. So, and then the student body, alumni association. It's just really crazy.
Let me just throw something out quickly, Mr. Gaiman, right? So I know this person.
And I think she went to Cotton too, though. I understand she went to
Cotton. Yeah, she went to Cotton, yeah. And I know her personally.
She's a Bassa woman, so the people don't like her.
Forget about the Bassa. Let me put something pertinent.
Beautiful Bassa woman. Beautiful Bassa woman. You're afraid of her.
You're the Bassa for your start is stepping for you. Because the time need to come in. No, but she actually got admitted to a UK university in when was it, 2019, came to the UK, completed her master's degree, and here at least we trust the system, and she did very well, right? So I do know, at least if she did become the deuce, that means she has some pedigree because of the various journeys she's had. She went to the university in the UK and completed, got her master's degree 2020, and then obviously went back to Liberia. So I do know her personally. Let me just put it out there. I'm not saying that because I know her, so she does. I'm just saying that she's been to an institution where she's been tested, not just the University of Liberia.
Mr. Tawo, this is getting ridiculous. That even if the university came out and they found nothing, that she is the legitimate dukes, these people have tarnished her reputation. Now everybody was say, oh yeah, that's the lady that graduated with dukes, and the people were doing this, doing that. To me, it is just intentional to bring other people down and rain on other people's parade. This woman, the different deans got together. The college determined that she had earned the right to be the top graduate. Why all these lawsuits and complaints? And I think it's just one of those political things that if they don't like you, they want to make sure that your reputation is dragged in the mud.
Yeah. So in the first place, why is the student being vilified or being punished? The student did not qualify themselves. They didn't give themselves that title or whatever it is. It is the university, whichever department. So instead of them dragging her in the mud, they're supposed to deal internally. And if they find out that any of the deans or the professors or the department heads were involved, they're supposed to be dealt with. They're supposed to have charges against them, and they're supposed to get persecuted and probably dismissed if they have enough. So that's the first thing. And this is where we always miss the process. But having said that, this is what I would say. There is nothing wrong with pushing people and promoting at every level. I went to school in the US. Yes, it is done here. It is done here. I went to the university, and the guy that I graduated with, that was the top guy in the whole university. He's a guy from Nigeria. He was my close friend. My buddy, we hung out. He was in the chemistry department, and he was the valedictorian. He gave a speech. So it's done everywhere. The problem that we are having in China, they have a whole program where the top students of, I think, like 3,000 or 4,000 students, they actually compete for who's going to come first, and they take them and they place them. That is where the West is behind. They place them into the AI. These are the young kids that are driving the AI revolution, and all these differences of the cloud computing and everything else, quantum computing. Yes. It is because we don't have any program. We don't have anything that, okay, so if somebody did all this stuff and they were rewarded, where do they end up? What become of it? So like the question that Michael asked. And for me, that has always been the thing. All the people go to school. The problem we have in Liberia is not about people not being educated or not knowing. I'm dealing with young men and women over there. They are very sharp. Every little thing I show them in a second, they have it. Once you give them the ability, give them the infrastructure, they're really good. But there is no one to absorb them. So people graduating continuously. And so we have the wrong education. It's not that the education that we're getting is wrong. The programs that we are prioritizing are all not what we need in that amount, in that number. Imagine if you have, let's say, 40,000 people graduating across Liberia. If a whole bunch of these kids, young men and women, are coming out of the trade area like mechanics and welding and computer something, and these are the things that you need to actually really build the nation. Roads. You see, so what happened if they came up through those areas? Those kids do not have to really go look for a job they can hire themselves.
Guys, somebody play mute.
But today,
yeah.
Okay, Mark. Okay.
So that's what I see. But yes, people at university level and college level compete. Another friend of mine, he graduated before me. This guy now work with Microsoft. They're the one that leading the cloud computing from Nigeria. How did he get into New York University? Because he came top of the engineering class. So he went immediately. That helped him for placement at top institutions. And so he went to do digital signal processing. And then from there, Microsoft saw him and they took him. And they gave him all kinds of shares because it was Microsoft and Intel that were fighting over him. And Microsoft prevailed. And Chuck is in Washington state there, how you call the place, the capital? Washington State, I forgot. But that is where he is. So
Seattle.
Seattle, yes. So the things are very important. It's just that ours will do it just for making noise. It's not to have the students that do the stuff to get rewarded in any way. Like I went to school with my friend Francis Duana and this guy, what is Anthony Kessley's nephew? He was ahead of me. I came second to him. But when we graduated, what happened? We sat around. There was nothing. So everything was going to waste until we left the country. Both of us, he came to Philadelphia and I came to Louisiana. So stuff like that. So that is why it really don't mean anything, but they're picking on the lady. She did not give herself grades. If they say that's what she did not give herself no title. The university need to stop. They need to hold themselves responsible, and not that lady.
Thank you, Michael. Before we move, let's close on this one. So we go to the yellow.
Give me tell where you finish that. You want to tell your own?
No, you want to tell your own.
No, he didn't finish.
Michael, outside the university, was standing on the window.
Yeah, Michael Padmore. We are hearing in Liberia that we don't have enough teachers. At one time, President Weah was trying to bring in 7,000 teachers from Nigeria. We are getting thousands of students graduating every year with no job. Unemployment is what, 90% in the country, right? You think somebody will think, or this particular government that's supposed to be the educated group, you think they will emulate Bill Clinton's AmeriCorps program, where when you graduate from college, you are given, if you work in the ghettos or in the underprivileged community for 2 years, your debt is forgiven. Your student loan is forgiven. It encourages people to go to where many people wouldn't work. You think, but now Liberian will say, you know what, graduate from LU, we got 2,000 graduate from LU, another 3,000 from AMEU. We got almost 10,000 graduate a year doing absolutely nothing. You think they will say, you know what, we will flood every school in this country with college graduates to teach. If you teach for 1 year in Barabo or 2 years in Barabo, whatever it is you need to do. At least when you come back to Monrovia, you will have an entry level in a civil service agency. You will start from somewhere because you got a degree. We can use you anywhere. You have a degree. That all the degrees are portable at least. But there's nothing happening, and everybody, there is no job, but we just graduating and graduating and graduating. It is, what can Wallow do to help Joseph Boyka? Maybe he never even thought about it. Pat will talk to us. What do we do with the excess students that we have that are idle? They're doing absolutely nothing. No job. The economy is in a toilet.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I come back to this whole thing about there's no plan. Yeah. The government get plan. There is no plan.
True.
There is no plan. There is no coordination. There is no plan. Look, there's a reason why there is government. Okay? If you see, let me give you an example. Okay? When I moved to Minnesota 25 years ago, okay, healthcare, education in healthcare was almost non-existent. I think they had about like three traditional nursing schools. That was it. Most colleges did not even have nursing schools. You had a university, like those, traditional university, they had a little small nursing school and thing. That was it. The government was able to realize that with the how you call them, the baby boomers, right, going into that age, and they recognize the need. Oh, there's going to be a need for nurses, for other healthcare workers. They started to coordinate with colleges to drive people into that industry to increase the graduation rate to answer to that need. That's the coordination. There's a plan. If you got no plan, guess what? All you're going to do is what we're doing now. You will graduate people every single year, and they will just sit down, or they will go drive keke, or they will go drive pimpin. You know, you got college graduates that are driving pimpin. Why? Because you have no plan, none whatsoever. What can anybody tell me? What has the government announced to say? Oh, in the next 5 years, starting with year one, this is what we're going to do. There is nothing. They don't coordinate with universities. They don't coordinate with local colleges. They don't even coordinate with local technical colleges. You say you are bringing 285 yellow machines. The yellow machine be coming for 2 years. In 2 years, how many heavy-duty mechanics have we graduated? How many? None. Zero. Aren't you only get heavy-duty in school? Do we have a heavy-duty mechanic school in Abira? No, we don't. We don't. But somehow we feel that, one of them feel that, oh, just bring a machine, everything will be okay. No, chief, that's not how it works. We don't even have we don't even have, and then when the people start importing the Chinese people to work on the car, on the machine, will be vexed. Why are the Chinese people coming to work? That Liberian can do that work. But guess what? Have you put the manpower in place? Have you trained people to actually take those machines? No, you have not. So that Chinese people can't be working on the machine. You check it. 6 months from now, when the machine start breaking down, because according to Gaiman, those are used orange machines and not yellow machines. When the machines start breaking down, they'll bring Chinese people to work on it. And then we will be paying the Chinese people, instead of paying our debt. But yeah, that's what we are, Mr. Gaiman. That's what we are. There's no plan. And until we have a plan, there's nothing that we can execute.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wallow, Dr. Wallow, you were looking for trouble. You got it. Now let's transition to the red yellow machine, because they are more red than yellow. So if we go find the photo of the yellow machine on internet, Michael, if we can find it somewhere, we'll put it up. Let me start with the centrist. The centrist on here got to be Victor Nangbe. He's not biased. He's not political. He's a centrist, right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, right.
And and let Wallow eat his heart out. And
Wallow, this man is in the middle. Uh, and you gotta give it to him. The reason we're moving now to the yellow machine, the yellow, red, and I think there was another color there. This week, for the past 2 years since they came into power, they've been talking about yellow machine, opening the roads. Even Dr. Waller is saying that we got problem with opening the roads and building roads. Honorable Namwe, sometimes I wonder something intrinsically wrong with Liberia when you have people like Dr. Wallow and all of these people, and they can't think of nothing but come on this show and mouth people and do a lot of stuff. But let me bring this to you. I'm saying the reason I said this is Waka is a complete failure, and all his advisors, including Dr. Wallow, they are all vla. Dr. Wallow, if you are listening, you are a vla. Vla means fake.
Fiamomo.
Yeah, Fiamomo, there you go. So bele. Complete bele. Doctor, what is the number surgery? So I have a breach or something. Okay. Honorable number. In 1955, when General Dwight D. Eisenhower took over this country, he said he wanted to build the interstate highway. He wanted to build a road network. That is a president that says, I want to build road network. Not only did he say this, but he came up with a plan, a schematic, and said, this is how it's going to be done. And let me show you what they said. I want all of us to listen. They said, when Dwight Eisenhower wanted to build a road, these are the major interstate highway in the United States that he set up. He said, I-90, they named it I-90. It will run from Seattle all the way to Boston. They will build that road. Then he says they will have I-90. I-90 will run from San Francisco to New Jersey. Then he says there will be I-40 that will run from California straight to North Carolina. Then he said I-10 from Santa Monica to Florida. And then the north-south corridor, he said I-5. And I-95 will do the north-south. This guy came up with a plan, a schematic, how they had the country integrate. That was the beginning of the interstate highway in these United States. Here we are in Liberia. I've been calling and been asking the Wallows of the world, what is Waka doing? At least at one time, George Weah was saying he wanted to build the coastal highway along the coast. They came up with a schematic. The coastal highway will run from Cape Mount all the way to Harper. It makes sense. What is Joseph Waka's plan? We don't even have the hub where the machine will be housed, who are going to run them, how they're going to budget for them, the 15 counties, nothing. So talk to us, Honorable Nangbe, about this yellow machine. I saw 8 yellow machines out of the 137. The rest were all kinds of funny looking red trucks. Talk to me about what you saw and how this is. Convince me that this is not another PR.
Well, that's a difficult ask from me. I think you should direct that question to Wallow and the likes. You've been posting all kinds of links. Some of those links have viruses on it, so I don't even click on them. So if he hasn't received, let him please put it in the chat so we can click on it and see the receipt that will tell us they brought in, 137 pieces of yellow machines. But look, before I go to the yellow machine, let me come back quickly to the point that you raised about, what to do with this number of students who are graduating when we have so much need. And I tell you, our experience with Barobo, you mentioned that quickly, and my former president is here. Also, the former DO is here listening. When we came in, we had no functional high school. We couldn't get teachers, so the district didn't have a high school. The highest, level was ninth grade. So when we signed the university, the Tubman University has a scholarship program with Barobo because they have a farm, a practicum, where they send their students, the agriculture students, to go and conduct their hands-on practice on the farm. And they give us 25 scholarships every year. But people come in, benefit from the scholarship, and then they go their merry way wherever they want to go. So we went and structured a memorandum of understanding. You graduate from the university, you come and give us at least 2 years. After the 2 years, you can go. And we did that for a while until we were able to grow our teachers. And now we have, if I'm not mistaken, we have over 8 teachers. Some of them have already been put on salary, and they're getting paid. And that's the kind of thing I think you're talking about, which again, Planet Michael talked about. A government that sits and seriously plans. I think these are not very, very uh, complicated concepts. I think President Weah left a scholarship program in place at the university. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think that program has been scrapped. So you have these children whose school fees are being, I guess, free. Why don't you do it and understanding with students? Like you're saying, you graduate, you go all the way to Sino, to Riverside, to Maryland, 1 year, 2 year. By that time we would have grown the next batch of students. After the 2 years, you're free to go anywhere you want to go. I think that's not a bad concept at all. This year, I think the university alone is graduating almost 1,300 students. I think when I check it, 1,255. That's a lot of young people around, nothing to do. But again, we hope, they will figure it out. But I don't know. Coming to the yellow machines, the pictures that we have been seeing, a lot of people have been writing a lot on social media. We're seeing a lot of stuff that suggests to us that we're not getting, first of all, 137 pieces of yellow machines. Two, we may not be getting brand new pieces of machine. Now, from the CMC perspective, we have about 19 pieces of those agricultural, equipment in the country, some yellow machine, all that. Those things are labor. They're very, 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 very labor. You have to continue to maintain them. Michael emphasized that. Michael said 2 weeks. But our experience is almost every other day you got to send them in for greasing, for all kinds. It's a lot of work to maintain those things. That's just one part of it. You mentioned, Jerome, what kind of manpower do we have in place for these people? Are we just recruiting drivers? Are we gonna train mechanics? I heard the former defense minister is gonna go on a nationwide tour to recruit 512 people from one sector and another 512. By the time he's done that, I think this year would have come and gone. So, but who are these people anyway? Are they going to be mechanics, drivers? So that's that. Then there's the whole question of, the yellow machines in themselves are not what are going to build the road. My son pointed that out to me today, my son Al. You see that even if they get all the yellow machine, then how are they going to get the stuff they put on the road? We're not just going to grade the road with a yellow machine. You need to cover, you need to put a lot. I'm not an engineer, but you got to put in a lot, you got to put in rocks, you got to put in sand, all of that stuff. Are we planning for this thing? So it's a lot of questions and nobody's saying anything. All they want us to do is to wear yellow, and go to the executive mansion and celebrate and celebrate and celebrate. But what are we celebrating? So yeah, I saw the picture. You're right. I think that I saw a lot of orange and other colors. I didn't see a lot of yellow. But if you look at the legislature, you would think that everything that was brought in, was nothing but yellow. But that seems to be far from the truth. So we want them to do well, but they're making it difficult for us to trust them. You just read out, the plan for this country. And lastly, before I give it back, I think it's a mistake for every incoming government to take the previous government's entire plan and toss it. I think that's not smart. Yeah, you may have defeated this person at the elections. Maybe the implementation was wrong, but it doesn't mean all of the ideas were bad. You know, you talked about the coastal highway. If we have a national plan, right, a national plan that every government that comes into office will work on that plan, I think we'll go a long way. Ellen Johnson may have started something. We can come in, George Weah can come in and tweak it, and Boakai can come in and tweak whatever, because it'll be difficult for any one president within 6 years to do everything that needs to be done. And so you come in, every president you had, Ellen Johnson, I think she had poverty reduction. That plan was tossed in favor of the AP, what is it, Propo,
Yeah,
and that plan has
PAPD.
been, yeah, uh, uh, Propo for Development or whatever, PAPD. That has been tossed again in favor of the inclusive
Arrest.
arrest. Yeah. So every person comes in with a brand new stuff, and they start all over. And by the time they realize, look how long it's taking this president to formulate his own plan. So I think really we need to think seriously about governance in our country. I think the major problem is most of us come in government hungry, and we're so preoccupied with getting our bellies full to the extent that, um, we abandon every principle of good governance. I mean, look at the stories of various scandals coming up in the press. I think that in itself is consuming the president's energy. Every day you have to be putting out fire, putting out this fire, putting out that fire, putting out that fire. Doesn't have to be like that. But again, this is LIB. We're hoping that Mr. Waller and others will prove us wrong, but it looks like we may have got second-hand machine, because here's a question you and I were asking yesterday elsewhere. If you started with 285 machines at $80 million, you brought the price down to $22 million now. Are you still getting 285 machines? Something got to give. Either you reduce the quantity or you reduce the quality of the machine. You and I know that. There's a price, you can pay a price for anything, but you may get reduced quality. Are we getting the same 285 machine for $22 million? They have not explained that to us. If that's what we're getting, then we may have gotten second-hand earth moving equipment. I don't know, but maybe Waller will explain that to us.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here talking about the yellow machine. Let me go to our technical man here, Tao. I'm looking behind you. I'm seeing Sunset Beach in Buchanan. It look well maintained. On the picture, talk to us about these machines. I saw more yellow in the House of Representatives than I saw on our ship. It looked at you. If you want yellow, you got to be in the House of Representatives, because there were a few yellow on that ship. How do these people count the water truck, the other stuff? They count them all as yellow machine. I mean, where do people come from?
So look at what happened here. The color is just a generic term that is usually used anywhere, because before it was Caterpillar that created a lot of mining and roll machine, earth moving machine, and they were always painted yellow. So I'm not really going to dwell so much on the color, but the color is just a generic term that they use to apply to, say, yellow machines and stuff like that. It don't actually have to be yellow; it can be green or anything. But look at what the issue is. Some people already touched on it. Mr. Namwe touched on it, and Michael touched on it. And we kind of spoke about it here in the past. If you have a plan and you say, and that's a very good idea actually, because we really need road network. But what people don't understand, like guys like Waller, is that this is not just a Boakai stuff because Boakai is in power. We are looking at previous governments without planning, without adequate program put in place. They waste a lot of resources and everything go to waste. We saw it with the buses. Each time they bring in these buses, you bring in these buses. My uncle worked at that MTA for like 10 years during the Ellen first term. They didn't have no Ellen brought the buses. People were not trained for them to know how to do anything. Parts and stuff were not sourced ahead of time. To have a whole department to keep up with stuff, and all the buses broke down. So we see it over and over, and that is what we are seeing with this. So we are just saying that if the government, if this is their pilot program, And this is what they really wanted to do. And let's say for 2 years, when it was first mentioned, they said no, that they were still in negotiation for it. We have a lot of graduates. We have people they could have taken maybe 1,000 people, taking them to China or wherever. Let them go on. Let them undergo training for like 2 years. Get very equipped, and then they come back. And when the machines land, and then within 2 years, they would have made a plan, because when they say they just ordering machines, what type of machine do you really need? What the feasibility studies done on these areas that's supposed to be worked on to know what the conditions of the roads are, what type of challenges they're supposed to face in trying to rehab them. In order then to then decide, because Labro will do everything backwards, that's how we do our budget. We just go ahead and create a budget. Then we start figuring out which area get what. Instead of trying to sit first and see where do we need things. Then based on that, based on the needs of all the, then you create a budget. But no, we create the budget first. Then, and that is why the budget set doesn't work. So all of this is not just a boycotting. We are talking about the inherent problem that is in the country. But the question I will raise that Mr. Nangwese, his son raised, is a valid question. Maybe the people don't have any desire for them to actually pave any road, because I doubted that they're going to be paving the road. It's just maintaining dirt road. So probably that's what they're doing. And Brother Gibman, you said something about that. I think it was you and Mr. Nangwa Padmo, that each time that the government, other government don't have to get rid of the plans of the next government that they took over right. But you know why? It happened in a disjointed area that is running, and it happened a lot in Africa. And this is why. Look at all successful government and countries. The government just sit there. The actual people that run the country are what you would call, they call it a deep state or whatever they want to call it. You have to have layers of people that don't get elected, don't get voted in and out of office. The policy makers, the think tanks, because these are these are where the policies are coming from, the ideas that they're projecting it to the government. Like, look, in the next 5 years, from planning or from engineering, from medicine, these are the things we need. So they actually have these policies, and the government then adopt these policies so that when one government leave, it is not like you work, because when you come in, they're already framework that you have to at least look at and then pick something from there that suit what you want to do, what you campaign on, and then do it. Just like in the US, just like UK, just like China, everywhere else. So these countries then maintain a stable trajectory in terms of development, politics, geopolitics, whatever, economic, everything else. But why do they? So in a place like Liberia, where you don't have that when that the government just sit in the empty space, sitting on top of a bottomless pit, that when they leave, the whole place is empty, the other guys come in. So we came up with the coastal road. All they do is to line up their own chopping. So you want for a Baga to come in and then follow we are on a chopping plane. No, they get rid of that one. Then they bring their own chopping plane in. That is what you keep seeing from Ellen to everybody else. So we have to develop this framework, and this happens if you don't have an actual plan in terms of for self-determination. Because first, if you have plans for you to self-determine, for you to build a system beyond government that come down all the way to the grassroots, or that from the grassroots up, where the society and the communities are actually embedded in, where the programs are coming from there, and the ideas and then they move up to the government. Even with our government, because the programs and the funding is put in place already, that these things are going on. And this is the problem. So we're always going to have this problem. No matter who comes to power, unless we have these kind of systems, they're going to keep changing things. They're going to come in, they're going to remove the other person, they're going to put their own guys. We came in. What did he say? They're going to retract containers. They came in, everybody wanted to print their own money, because the other guy printed the money from the other person, the owner chopping, or the other person. So you see, that is what we are seeing. So it's disjointed. But this is a very good stuff. But just like everybody said here, so it is now that the machines are on the ground that you're going to travel around the country. So when you recruit these people, are they already qualified? No, they are not. Are they already trained? Are they not technician expert? No. So it's just a waste. So same Waller, then you see this stuff. So it's not about a boycott stuff. You see, that's a problem we have in Liberia. Everybody want to commit to their own political party or to their own or demigod image of somebody, but not to the nation. So that when you point out something that generally benefit the nation or will hurt the nation, everybody starts seeing you like you're against the other party or the other person and stuff like that. Until we can get out of that, we are not going anywhere. And lastly, the government here, the program was a very good program if they just organized it. But somehow they managed to snatch defeat out of the jaw of victory.
Thank you. Dr. Moody, if you grew up in Nimba, in Maryland, in Grand Bassa, everywhere, like me, I grew up in Bassa, so I know. Tao, maybe you can remember, we had a place called German Camp or Camp Meckling. It was the public works hub for maintenance and maintenance and storage and parts and all that stuff. It was built during the Tobel administration. These hubs were all over the country as subdivision of public works. After they were built, people were trained, the experts were ready. Then when they bring their new machines or whatever machine will be brought in and they will be cared for in those hubs. This is not what we are seeing. In fact, they don't even have place to store these machines. They say they're taking it to Mount Bagley somewhere. The first few they brought, they kept it in the barracks. This tells you that these things are in the element. There's no storage place. They're in a wide open place. We've seen this movie before when Joseph Bagara then brought in $30 million worth of John Deere machine, the real good one, not these one, in 4 years to produce right by Gaddafi. And those machines are still there, never moved. We are seeing the same lack of plan. Now they bring in machines and trucks, no maintenance person, no operators. They are just going around the country now to hire people, to recruit. Your take on the whole, I don't know the whole machine saga.
Yeah, I'm going to give my take, and I'll use that as my closing as well, because I need to step away after this. But just touching on the point of the young people in Liberia and that Mr. Patmo and Mr. Nambi touched on, it is a shame that this government hasn't put a plan together yet. Obviously, we've got a new minister of youth and sports now. So let's see if she comes up with a plan on how to address youth unemployment, because this has been an issue since 2003 at the end of the war with the interim government and Ellen Johnson. So young people in Liberia have been struggling to get opportunities to work and make a decent living for themselves. In terms of the issue of governments coming in and scrapping what the previous government had in place, that is not a new phenomenon, right? So here in the UK, for example, or in the US, Trump came to power in 2016. All of the policies, he threw them out of the window, right? Biden came in, he threw all of Trump's policies out of the window. So it happened because you campaign to the people based on a platform. So when you get into government, you have to deliver that platform. Hence, you need to have a plan. The problem with this government is that they campaigned on an arrest agenda, and there was no plan behind the agenda. There was not a comprehensive plan on what arrest is and how arrest was going to be implemented. That's the problem, right? They felt that, let's come up with some fancy term that we can put up for the Liberian people that will help us get elected without really sitting down, because real government, I've seen real government here in the UK. I've seen real government operate in places like the US and in Canada and other places. For example, if you look at Obama, when he came to power, as soon as he came to power on the mandate, look, I'm going to fix the economy, right? I'm going to reverse the damage of the financial crash, and I'm going to get Americans working again. So they had a plan. Yes, some people might disagree with what the plan was, which was the stimulus that they put in place, but at least he had a plan, right? This government doesn't have one. So I'm not surprised anymore. But I can be cynical as well, right? And say, well, maybe they do have a plan. And the plan is to not plan so that they can't be transparent. So we don't know where the money is going, right? Because again, If you sit, because you can't tell me, Mr. Nangwe or Mr. Patmo and or Mr. Tao or Mr. Gamer, that these individuals that campaigned on the notion that look, we have 700 years of experience in government, right? You can't tell me that they don't understand simple things like if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? Anyone who's done any management course, even if it's just a diploma, you are told the importance of planning. You have to have a plan. You can't do anything. You can't implement a project. You can't even walk out of your house in the morning without a good plan. You can't tell me a group of people that sold to the Liberian people that look, we're good at this thing, didn't have. They had a plan. And that plan was simple. Anything we want to do, we'll not tell the people what we're doing. We'll just do it so that we can steal the money and do it. Because at the end of the day, you say, oh, well, they don't have storage facilities, but maybe that's part of the plan. Bring the machines in. We know that they're, like Mr. Nangwe alluded to, that these are poor quality machines, right? So we'll bring them in, because if you go find housing for them and they break down whilst in the housing, we'll say, but how did machine break down quickly like this? Oh, if you get the technicians to work on the machine and they break down whilst there are qualified people to work on them, we'll say, oh, but how did the machine get all the qualified people to work on it and breaking down quickly like this? So the plan is actually, let's not bring technical people to work on it. Let's not house it in the right place. And then we'll, or maybe because we're not housing the right place, or the people didn't know how to work the machine. Because they've already told us these machines were going to cost us 80 something million, right? When we started making noise, they said, okay, no, that's 20 something million. The question you were asking, Mr. Nangwe, I wanted to interrupt, but thank God I did, was to say, look, there is a third option, right? It's not just that, oh, there were good qualities and now there were poor quality. The third option is they tried to steal from the Liberian people and we caught them in the act, right? But the machines were actually 20 million all along. And somebody decided, I think we'll make it 80 million so we can eat the 60. And then we caught them in the act. And then they say, okay, say you cash or now, okay, we'll say the truth at 20 million. There is a third option. Because we have seen with this government, they have no appetite for doing what's right for the people. The president came to power, he go by and said $1.4 million cash. Before he even took office, they went to NASCOP and collected 300 something thousand. The thing will not forget, but we still remember that 300 something thousand that they've not accounted for yet, right? The same president just suspending and people from tenure position and then paying them off just so that he can put a local county cronies into government. So they do have a plan. Don't be fooled that they don't. They have a clear plan, and that plan is to loot this country. And when they're gone, those of us who are left behind will be left with the nonsense that they've left behind, and rebuilding Liberia will be way worse and way more difficult than it was when these guys took over. That's the plan that they have. These guys are here simply to enrich themselves. So they will do whatever it takes to make sure that they take whatever they can take out of the Liberian people, knowing fully well that they might more likely than not get away with it. Mr. Padmore said earlier that, the same thing that they're prosecuting, what's his name, 12 for now, they're doing it. Yeah, because they feel they can get away with it. So I'm not surprised. We've gone around this yellow, but I too, the cynical part of me saying, look, these guys do have a plan, and they are implementing that plan exactly as they want. Leave a lot of confusion there. So why Mr. Nangwe and Mr. Gamen are running around trying to understand the confusion, with are collecting our lady and gold. By the time you realize, when I said grandpa, can't they say by that time, and then Mr. Gamen, I know where to go.
I go to FOIA. Ladies and gentlemen, our time is fast, man. Thank you very much for tuning up. Dr. Booty, your parting comment real quick before you go. I know it's late on your end.
Yeah, no. Again, it's been a great show. I think great points on the whole situation happening in Iran. Obviously, it was great that we talked about the situation of the young people in Liberia. We really need this government. If they don't do anything, they need to focus on young people and give them the opportunities that they need. One way is like Mr. Nangwe keeps advertising on his under his name. They need to audit the national legislature. They need to audit the entire government. They need to cut back significantly on pay packages for all officials of government. Repurpose that money into development. Put it into farming cooperatives, put it into creating jobs for young people, whether it be building a factory to produce orange juices or whatever juice we can produce in Liberia, whether it be building factories to make rubber items, because we got a lot of rubber in Liberia. We can turn some of those into finished goods and sell them, right? There are a lot of things they can do. But if we keep wasting the little money we have, and not only that, but making it difficult, right? Because opening business in Liberia, Mr. Tao will tell you, is almost like I don't know what's more difficult in this way. It's almost like trying to reverse your age. That's how it's like, because you know you can't go back in age. That's how it's like trying to start a business in Liberia. Everybody wants cut. Then the capital you go into start a business where you finish before the business registration even goes, right? They need to make it easier for people to open businesses so that Liberians in the diaspora will be encouraged to come home, set up businesses in the private sector that will employ people, right? That's what this government needs to be doing. And if they don't do it, we'll still coming here every Sunday. But we can come. We'll be coming and be talking until somebody can listen and try to do what's right for the Liberian people. But again, great show as always, and we'll be back next Sunday.
And Dr. Booty, they need to make it cheaper for people to bring money into the country for investment.
It's all of that, yeah, all of that. Even like the port, they need to make it
Just tell you
easier for people to get their things in and out of the port, and
it's
cheaper.
very expensive to transfer money to Liberia. They charge you all kinds of fees.
Because the regulatory bodies that Ellen came up with, all these, like, we got 3 telecom companies. Why the whole body? The Ministry of Post and Telecom, you can get one little small department in there can regulate those people. But you set up authority, each of them collecting 10,000, 3,500 for their generator. That's just, those are some of the things that we need to get rid of to make life easier for the Liberian people. And I agree, because even if you want to transfer $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 to Liberia, the amount of money you're paying on that, the amount of money you're going to pay on that could almost buy like some top quality logistical equipment that you need for a certain part of your business. And how do we create jobs? But again, we can go on talking about this all day, but this government need to make, especially for us Liberians in the diaspora, doing business in Liberia need to be easier than it is. Very, very easier than it is. And that's a starting point, because that would then create jobs in the private sector that can absorb some of these young people who are graduating from the universities every year.
Thank you very much. Honorable Tao.
Yeah. Nice show. And for what is happening in Iran, it will affect Liberia, because Liberia, Africa in general, and Liberia in particular, because we don't do anything for ourselves. We are dependent. So anything that disrupt importing of stuff or something slightly in the so-called global market, it affects us because everything comes from somewhere else. So but the government don't even see anything. They already got paid. If the country don't even run, they're going to pay themselves. So they really don't care. So like somebody was saying, I think it was Mr. Nambe said, I hope that they're paying it. No, they're not paying no attention. That just that simple. Because people that want to pay attention, you will see the reflection in the budget that it passed. Okay, so like that. Dr. Budi, you said that they should go ahead and cut back. They need to dissolve that whole legislation. They're not needed. Let me tell you something, they're not needed. The guys do nothing but to pass budget and approve concessions. Those two can be done by referendum. You cut down on everything, you take all that money, and then you put in the industries. No country can develop and have a sustained development without industrial base, because the industrial base that continue to create turnover in generation that then keep reallocating the money somewhere else. But what they do, like you were saying something about doing business, do you know that before you go and open a bank account for a business, the business already registered. Do you know you have to actually pay tax? If you don't have a tax certificate from LRA, they can't allow you to open a business account in the bank in Liberia.
You haven't even made profit yet.
No, you have not made profit. Yes, you have to pay tax. You go to LRA and they look at the business and they say, based on this business, this is what we think will generate. So this is the percentage of tax you must pay upfront. I experienced it and so to help with our open personal account. So what happened? They're losing money. because they're just not doing anything correctly. And Ellen, and these are IMF and World Bank programs. That's why when I say this thing, Thomas, who worked with them, because I would say that he wanted to defend it. Because the taxes that are being collected are not meant to go to Liberia, is meant to pay World Bank and IMF debt. So they're trying to squeeze as much as they can from. So in that process, they kill the private sector. Go open a business after you register in the first place. Why do I need a lawyer in Liberia in order for me to register a business? I had all the paperwork. I brought it. They said, no, you have to, a lawyer will have to do it for you. I said, but I already have everything. They said, no. So I am not allowed for me to just walk in and register. So I have to hire a lawyer for the lawyer to do it. After I paid to them, I went and took the paper, went to the bank, went to 4 different banks. They said, where's your tax paper, your flag receipt from LRA? I said, what do you mean? The business? They said, oh, you have to have that. So you have to go and pay tax because they project what they think the business is going to generate them. So you pay the tax up front. That's what we have in Liberia. Ellen set these things up because IMF and World Bank want to make sure they collect that to pay the debt that Ellen they were collecting when they were telling that they gave Liberia $5 billion. No bank gave nobody money. Those were loans. And to pay back the loan, they guarantee that the public will be squeezed at every level. In an environment like that, there is nothing like somebody when you transfer money, I transfer money from the US here, no matter what, the $45, $45, they get to Liberia, they wipe out a whole bunch of the money. The first time I said, what's going on? They say, oh, you didn't know? One guy, man, he worked at GTP. He said, oh, you didn't know? He started showing me the percentages and the rates. Nobody can bring serious money into the country because you lose almost all of it in the banking fees. So wow. This is what we have. So these are, and this is where I'm saying we who are in the diaspora, instead of all want to go and say government, these are the things we're supposed to organize ourselves with a whole structure that we can actually lobby, push. These are the things that we need to, these are the bottlenecks and roadblocks that we need to reverse. Where is Yola? These are the things that Yola then supposed to champion enough for them to be welcoming. The other speaker and the other vice president, the other one here.
That closing you gave me, so it seems like you gave me political.
Yeah, no, that's closing. That's closing once and for all. When you're speaking against evil, you don't have to wash your mouth.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Nangbe, close on out.
So I like the treatment that Dr. Budi and Mr. Tao gave to the Iranian situation, as well as the yellow machine. So I'm not gonna go there. Mr. Tao, for your information, I resigned my position with Yola on November 4th. So I don't work with Yola anymore. My wife still does, and so yeah, you can say I still have ties with Yola, but I don't. So I don't influence decision anymore in Yola. Reasons are personal. But I wanted to spend a little bit of time in the legislature. You know, I know we've been here far enough, so we'll have to leave. But you know, we come in here, we talk about the legislature, you know, and you know, nobody seems to pay attention. But I think the people in the legislature, I think that building is a cesspool. I have friends in there. They don't like it when I say it, but I think they are the problem we have in that country. Yeah, the executive and the judiciary, they're creating their own problem. But they have enormous responsibility. They have responsibility. They have oversight responsibility. This whole yellow machine thing, they should be asking questions. The questions we are asking here. Those are their questions. And what do? They turn into cheerleaders and they go to the executive mansion wearing yellow, take a day off, and we are paying them.
Yeah.
They take the day off and they go in the executive mansion. So now who is going to call out the executive mansion to answer questions? They're supposed to. We're spending almost $52 million on those people in this budget. And this is not rocket science. Just take 52 million divided by 104, and that's almost $500,000 per person we're spending on these people.
Yep.
When you have schools like in Niz or where the school, you know, every picture they bring, there's another school we're looking at in Mobile. Almost everywhere the kids are sitting on the ground, you know. Somebody, so it is. We're not going to let up, and this is why we're disappointed in the Justice Minister, my fellow Coditonian, Scorpion brother. He for once seemed to have plucked up the courage to audit the Senate. He went to court and got a subpoena and proceeded to announce he was going to audit the Senate because the GSC had audited the Senate, and at least, I'm not saying at most, at least $26 million could not be accounted for. He announced we were going to audit them, and within minutes, he reversed himself. Why? He is that one minister who was appointed by this president, but who has the statutory authority to disagree with the president. He needs to put put the spine in his back and do what needs to be done. This legislature, it has to be audited, and they have to answer for the crimes they're committing against our people. They set their own salaries, they set their own benefits, they do nothing. They go to work twice a week, and they don't work throughout the year. I think they work 3 or 4 months in a year, even if that. And these people are drained. They are a drain on the economy. So thank you for the show tonight. I hope Waller is paying attention to what I'm saying and stop being a keyboard warrior for once. Put out something original, and get this thing off the screen, But thanks for the opportunity. It's been good being here today.
Just 5 seconds. If Nambe keep going in that direction, I'm actually going to be the standard bearer of the CMC, and ability will be my vice presidential candidate.
Thank you very much. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, because me, I like to do monkey work, baboon draw.
Yeah, Wallo will support you 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our take. Hopefully, during the week or next week, we will have had most of the information on the late Representative Solomon George.
Yes.
We are sorry. We extend our condolences to the family. But if it is true that he was so mad with former President George Weah, that President Weah offered to get him out of the country for advanced medical treatment, and he refused, causing his death, if it's true, it would be the most boneheaded thing I have ever heard in my life. Even President Wakai, according to Prince Johnson, when he dropped, Joe, we have picked him up and took him to America where they put a pacemaker, and now he's walking around. He didn't turn it down, and he living. You turn it down, and you are dead.
I thought Henry Costa had a combination to that pacemaker.
Yeah, in fact, the people almost repossessed the pacemaker until
But how can a representative that made $20,000-$30,000 a month for 6 years or whatever year, 12 years, could not get himself out of the country?
Yep, that's it there. But gentlemen, that's it. Let's see you again next week. Let me go to our song. I know Michael Palmore, as usual, he gone to his
he gone his boy. He gone
do his stuff there. And when we look for him, we can't see him. Let me look for where we are all African. Where is that? What I name of the show? We are all African.
Yeah, we're all Liberians.
We are all Liberian studio. Let me see here. I mean, listen, good help is just hard to find. The man talking about Musa ability here, and he himself can't even be here to close her out. But let me look for it. It says here, where is it? Our closing song. Where is our closing song? Gentlemen, see you guys next week.
We are Liberians.